Hey, you guys. I've got another murder story for you, courtesy of yours truly, Auntie Cuckoo. So, let me ask you guys, have you heard the one of the Selfie Killer? Yeah, that's right. She took pictures and posted them as she was doing her murders in an attempt to be an infamous serial killer. Well, let me tell you guys this. She failed. She did murder some people, but she failed. She ain't an infamous serial killer. But I guess we're talking about her, so I guess that kind of does, right? I don't know. Anyways, buckle up, Buttercup, and let's do this. So before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Storytime with Auntie Cuckoo, for more murder stories. Let's do it! So, as usual, I'll tell you guys key players. We've got Amanda Taylor and Rex Taylor. So, they met in high school, fell in love. Pretty much from high school, their whole lives were intertwined. They ended up getting married and having children. Not children, should I say they had a child. So, Rex and Amanda Taylor, they had a lot of things in common. One of the main things that they both really enjoyed and were big into was murder. I mean, I get it, you guys hear me. I'm all about murder and stuff. My degree's in criminology. Those of you that don't know, obviously I work with kids that are abused and neglected and whatnot, but I'm big into murder stuff. I want to know why, what makes people tick, what makes them do this. Well, Amanda and Rex, they weren't so much into why as how. How do you get away with it? What's the best way to murder someone? Let's talk about them being chopped up and tormented. That's what they're about. Completely different than me. So that's what they're into. So much that they spend their free time watching these, documentaries and going online and, researching Charles Manson, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, the big serial killers. Well, not only did they do all that, but like I said, Rex and Amanda were married and they had a small child together, a little boy. Well, not only did they research all this, but they decided, let's reach out and become pen pals with the serial killers. So they did. They reached out and they're like, what up, serial killer? We think you're friggin' awesome, whatever. And the serial killer's like, what up? I'm in jail, so of course I'm going to write you back. So they did that, and obviously they get the response back, and Amanda's like, oh my God, oh, the serial killer wrote us back, blah, blah, blah. All good, whatnot. Then a few weeks later, they get another letter from the serial killer, and it says, thank you so much for sending me the pictures of your small son. Amanda's like, what? Rex is like, yeah, I did that. Thank you so much for sending the pictures of your small son. Me and my cellmates enjoyed looking at the pictures and having sexual, whatever about it. Amanda's like, I can't believe you sent the serial killer a picture of our son. Which I'm surprised she was that upset about it. They're all into it, right? Anyway, so she's friggin' devastated about this. And Rex is like, oh, I didn't know. I thought that's what we do. So she's like, you gotta go. Get the hell out. She finds out also that Rex is abusing drugs and alcohol. So she kicks him out. So now Amanda and her small son are on their own. And when she kicks Rex out, Rex has nowhere else to go. So he goes to his father's home, Charles Taylor. He's 58 years old at the time. The other person living in that home is his grandfather, who is ailing. He's ill. He's on, he's living there. Anyways, he's dying. So not a big part of the story, but it's another person living there. So anyways, so he's living with his dad. Come to find out, his dad is also a drug abuser, an alcoholic, not the best role model, best place for Rex to be. After Amanda kicked him out for using drugs and alcohol and sending a picture of their small son to a serial killer. Kicks him out, he goes and lives with his dad, living with his dad, and his dad's like, here, I got something to make you feel better, do some shots, or here, have some drugs, you'll feel better, son. Amanda's pissed, she's not happy about this, she wanted him to clean up his act, whatnot. On their son's birthday, their small son, Amanda and Rex's small son's birthday, Amanda is, trying to celebrate her son's birthday at home and make it a joyful occasion. She gets a phone call and finds out that her husband, who she kicked out and is living with his father, Rex, hung himself. He killed himself. Amanda is beyond devastated. On their small son's birthday, the man she loves and cares about, that she kicked out of her home, hung himself, and killed himself. Well, Amanda doesn't see it as Rex obviously was dealing with his own demons and having his own issues, and I'm devastated he killed himself. She doesn't see it as that. She sees it as Charles, his father, fed him drugs, filled his head full of shit, and killed my husband. That's how she sees it. Let's lay it out. That's what happened. Hi, Isaiah. Hi, Greg. So that's what happened. She's like, his dad gave him drugs, allowed him to continue on this path, and it's his father's fault for dying. He hung himself because of his dad. That's Amanda's thought. So she becomes even more obsessed with death, dying, torture, the whole 9 yards. On Amanda and Rex, not only do they have so much in common, but they actually have the same birth date, March 27th. So on March 27th, she actually goes to Rex's grave with a couple of friends, and while they're sitting there, she gets all emotional. On top of getting intoxicated, she pulls out a friggin' knife and is like slicing at her friends and like screaming and yelling and like trying to literally stab her friends. That would be like my, oh, I gots to go. But her friends, not so much. She's like, oh, she's having a bad night. So what we do, we hang out at gravestones and pull out knives and try and kill each other, apparently. Anywho, so that night ends, and Amanda's online, and she meets this man. His name is Sean Ball. Well, Sean Ball tells her that he is a ex-Navy SEAL, that he has, training, that he was trained to kill. He's a straight up trained killer. He claims, he sat there and slit children's throats and hung women and raped them and murdered them. And Amanda's like, tell me more. Oh, like drooling, foaming at the mouth as he's telling these stories, right? So Sean Ball was like, oh yeah, I'm, this ex-Navy SEAL, and I've murdered so many people. I'm a trained killer. With my bare hands, I can rip someone's throat out. I've held a man's heart in my hands type crap. So Amanda's like foaming at the mouth, like, oh yeah, tell me more. You're the one. I got you. Let's do this. So they start hanging out. And Amanda talks to him and convinces him to come with her to her father-in-law. She wants to discuss things. So she goes to her father-in-law's. That's Rex's dad, Charles. She shows up there, and she waits. And she's watching until the clock strikes 3:27. Remember, I said their shared birth date is March 27th. She sits there in Rex's father's home. Charles, right? Yeah, Charlie Taylor. So she's sitting there in his home, and she's watching the clock. It hits 3:27. She jumps up, pulls out her friggin' knife, and stabs him. 31 times she stabs him. So Sean's there too, and he's like, oh, I don't want to look like a douche. I've been telling her I'm a trained killer. So he picks up the tire iron and like hits the dad a few times in the head after she stabbed him over and over again. Anyways, so after she's done doing that, stabbing her father-in-law 31 times, she stands there, pulls out her phone, and takes a selfie with the knife, blood dripping off of it, and her father-in-law laying on the couch behind her in a bloody heap. Posted to social media, like, what up? Yeah, I just killed him. Let me get this right, because this is quoted, so I gotta look down and read it, make sure I'm not misquoting her. What she posted was the picture of her father-in-law stabbed to death behind her, blood dripping off the knife, and she posts, I stabbed my father-in-law to death because he is responsible for my husband's suicide. So, a normal person would probably, like, I don't know, go home or flee or something. She's like, Sean, let's do this. We're going on a killing spree. Jump in the car and let's roll. So they get in the car and they leave. Well, I know, this is so crazy. I'm like, did this really happen? Yeah, it really friggin' happened. So Amanda is like, let's go on this killing spree. And Sean's like, all right, yeah, trying to be like, he's on board. But as he's like replaying this all in his head, he's like realizing I'm way in over my head. Because like I said, he lied and said he's an ex-Navy SEAL, that he's like a trained killer, this and that. No, none of that is true. He's a mofo waiter in like an Applebee's or Chili's or something. He has no training. He's never killed anyone. So he's traumatized now and like I'm in way over my head. So as they're driving on their killing spree, Sean decides like, let me take some sedatives and like knock myself out. So he does. He takes some sleeping pills and stuff, and he knocks his ass out. He wakes up. He's on the side of the road. Amanda had kicked him out of the car. He's laying on the side of the road with a gun to his head. Amanda says to him, before she shoots him in the head, she says to him, and again, let me make sure I get my quote correct. Let me look down. I want you to know I used you for your gun and your car. And then shoots him in the head and leaves him. So she continues driving on her murder spree she's going on. And at one point, they started in Virginia and went to Tennessee, and I want to say North Carolina. She gets lost. Oh, and I forgot this part too. After she shot Sean on the side of the road and said, like, I want you to know I used you for your car and your gun, she took a selfie of that too and posted. So the police obviously are able to track the most part where she's at and what she's doing from her selfies and her posts online. But also then she gets lost and she calls 911 and she's like, I think I'm lost. I'm on a murder spree, but I think I'm lost. What the F, right? I'm trying to like watch my language. But anyways, so obviously the police friggin' find her. I mean, come on. So they find her, they surround her, and she's like in her straight up glory, like happier than a pig in shiznit. Like, yeah, I did kill them, and yeah, I murdered my father-in-law, and I'm sorry, can I fix my hair and let's pose for this mugshot? Like that type of glory. So anyways, the police begin questioning her, and she sings like a bird. She's like, yeah, I did. I murdered my father-in-law. Yeah, I did that. And then I shot Sean Ball in the head, and I tried to kill him, and I tried to kill these people. She sings like a friggin' bird. Tells the whole thing, and literally talks about, like, it was like a roller coaster and the best I've ever felt killing these people. She actually looks at, actually, I'm going to say that at the end. We're going to hold on that statement. So needless to say, she sings like a bird and talks about, you know, killing her father-in-law, stabbing him. Obviously, there's the picture online to prove it. And then talks about shooting Sean in the head, which, by the way, Sean friggin' survived. The police show up to where she had left him on the side of the road, and he's still breathing. He survives. Like, I can't believe that, but yeah, he survives. So, Sean, gets sentenced to 60 years and suspended after 41 years. And then Amanda, she gets charged with first-degree murder. She actually asked for the death penalty, but they didn't give it to her. They sentenced her to life without the possibility of parole. And then when it was all said and done, what I was going to say before, I'll say now. She looks at the cop and said, you know, like, all I wanted to be was a serial killer, you know. And like I said, she's like literally like gloating and so proud of talking about her murders and stuff. And the cop looks at her and says, how does it feel to fail? And I was like, zing, zing, bia, right? How does it feel to fail? You want to be a serial killer? You killed your father-in-law. I mean, not that his life isn't valuable. Don't get it twisted on what I'm saying. That's not what I mean. But she was like trying to be this mass murderer. She didn't kill Sean. He survived. And she didn't kill anyone else. So her whole glory and like being an infamous serial killer didn't happen. So that was like my favorite part at the end when the investigator was like, how does it feel to fail? I'm pretty sure she was dumbfounded. Anyways, so that is a story about the Selfie Killer. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. As usual, I appreciate you guys. Mwah, 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 mwah. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, share, and of course, check out my YouTube channel, Storytime with Auntie Cuckoo. That's with a Kookoo. I thank you guys so much. I hope everyone is doing well. Stay healthy, stay safe, make good choices, do good things, be kind to one another. And I'll check you on the flip side, Skillet. Thank you guys. And if you got a story you want to hear about or a murder story you're curious about, I probably already know about it. Ask me. I'll tell it. I got you. Take care, loves.